Union Station was bursting at the seams when it happened. The evening rush poured through the terminal in heavy waves, boots stomping, rolling suitcases clattering, voices layering over one another in a chaotic hum. Announcements echoed overhead, calling late commuters to catch the last express train out of Chicago. It was the kind of noise that swallowed everything whole. Until the moment a single bark cut straight through it. Officer Jake Miller was 2 steps behind his canine partner when Koda suddenly lunged forward, ripping the leash so hard it jolted Jake's shoulder. Before he could react, the Belgian Malinois planted himself at the top of the escalator, blocking the path of a pregnant woman who had been hurrying toward the platform. She froze mid-step, her tote bag slipping halfway from her arm as shock spread across her face. What is he doing?" she gasped, clutching her belly as if bracing for impact. Koda didn't growl, he didn't snap. He simply stood like a wall of muscle and instinct, his hackles raised, tail stiff, eyes locked on the woman's midsection with an intensity that made nearby commuters stumble to a halt. A man behind her shouted, "Hey, someone get that dog away from her, she's pregnant!" Others echoed him, voices rising into a chorus of outrage. Phones whipped out instantly. A teenager already had his stream going, angling the camera for a better shot. "Unbelievable," he muttered into his mic. "Chicago PD terrorizing a pregnant woman? This is going viral." Jake felt the weight of every eye in the station shift to him. His pulse kicked up, not from guilt, but from the sharp, unmistakable tension radiating off Koda. The dog wasn't acting aggressive, he was acting alarmed, purposeful, focused. And Jake had learned long ago that when Koda moved like this, something was always wrong. But to the crowd, all they saw was a police dog blocking a scared woman on a crowded escalator. "Ma'am, just stay still a moment," Jake said, raising his hands in a calming gesture. "I didn't do anything. I just want to get home." Before Jake could respond, Koda barked again, short, sharp, almost frantic. The pregnant woman stumbled backward, tears filling her eyes. A businessman cursed loudly about missing his train. The escalator kept moving, depositing more frustrated commuters into the gathering knot of tension. "Officer, control your dog," someone yelled from behind. "She's obviously not a threat." The woman trembled, one hand gripping the railing, the other clutching her belly so tightly her knuckles went white. Her breathing was fast, uneven, fearful. But Koda wasn't backing off. If anything, he inched closer, blocking the entire entrance to the moving stairway. And then it happened. The moment everything snapped still. Koda let out a low, guttural sound Jake had only heard twice before. A sound that meant danger, not to Jake, not to bystanders, but to the person the dog was staring at. The crowd sensed it too. One by one, voices tapered off, phones lowered. Even the rattle of the escalator seemed to dim. In the span of a breath, the bustling train station turned into a suspended, breathless tableau. Every person, commuters, tourists, security staff, froze. Jake's voice came out softer than he expected. "Easy, boy. What do you see?" Koda didn't blink. He didn't move. He simply stared at the woman as if the truth was pulsing just beneath her hands. Behind the stillness, the teenager's live stream whispered on, his voice hushed now. "Guys, something's wrong. The dog's reacting like he's smelling, I don't know, something dangerous?" Jake swallowed hard. His instincts tugged at him. Trust the dog. Always trust the dog. Still, the weight of 100 strangers judging him pressed onto his chest. He took a step forward, positioning himself between Koda and the woman, speaking gently. "Ma'am, don't panic. I just need you to stay where you are for a moment. We'll figure this out." Her voice cracked. "Is he going to attack me?" "No," Jake said firmly. "Koda doesn't attack, he warns." The tension held, like the moment before a glass shatters. And as the entire station watched the standoff in stunned silence, a calm voice cut through, Jake's own, steady and practiced. If you're new to stories like these, the ones that remind us how instinct can change everything, Subscribe to Paws of Courage. These real canine heroes deserve to be seen. The pregnant woman whispered, "Please, just make him stop." But Koda wouldn't move. He wouldn't. Not until the truth revealed itself. And in that frozen, breathless moment, Jake realized something terrifying. Koda wasn't blocking her path. He was trying to stop what might happen if she took just one more step.
6 hours before Union Station fell silent, the day had started like any other for Officer Jake Miller. Dawn had barely lifted when he pulled into the Chicago Canine Training Center, the frost on the asphalt crunching under his boots. The cold bit at his cheeks, but Koda trotted beside him with the kind of unbothered confidence only a working dog possessed. His breath puffed white clouds into the morning air, ears perked, tail swinging with steady purpose. "Ready to work?" Jake asked, rubbing the dog's neck. Koda nudged his hand, like the answer had always been yes. Inside the training yard, a handful of handlers were already running drills. Sergeant Maya Brooks stood off to the side, clipboard tucked under her arm, her sharp brown eyes scanning every movement of every dog. Maya was the kind of supervisor who noticed everything, especially mistakes. And lately, she'd been watching Koda a little too closely. "Morning, Miller," she called. "Let's see if your partner's head is in the game today." Jake forced a smile. "He's good, Sarge. Just had an off moment last week." "Off moment?" Maya raised a brow. "Jake, he dragged you across a parking lot chasing a scent that didn't exist." "It wasn't nothing," Jake said quietly. She crossed her arms. "Jake, listen, I know you trust him. I respect that. But the department can't afford another false alarm. One more incident and they'll reassign Koda for evaluation. You understand me?" The words hit heavier than they should have. Koda wasn't just a partner, he was family. The idea of losing him, even temporarily, squeezed something tight inside Jake's chest. Before he could respond, the drill whistle blew. "Let's get to it," Maya ordered. The first exercise went smoothly. Obedience, search cues, controlled aggression. Koda moved like a shadow attached to Jake's side, sharp, focused, reliable. But during the second drill, the one simulating a bag check, Koda suddenly tensed, nose lifted, tail going rigid. "What is it, boy?" Jake whispered. Koda let out a low whine and pulled toward the fence bordering the training yard. Maya noticed immediately. "Miller, control him!" Jake tightened the leash, guiding Koda back into formation. But he felt it, that subtle, unsettling shift in the dog's posture. Alert, but not aggressive. Conflicted. Something had gotten Koda's attention. Something unseen. "It's nothing, buddy," Jake murmured, but there was doubt in his own voice. After drills, Jake tossed a ball across the yard for Koda to hope to shake off whatever lingered in the dog's mind. Koda chased it, caught it midair, and trotted back proudly. As Jake knelt to scratch his neck, the dog pressed his head into Jake's chest, a gesture of trust as familiar as breathing. "You're fine," Jake whispered. "We just have to get through today without any surprises." But Maya wasn't done. She approached, her tone softer than before. "Jake, I've seen good handlers lose their dogs because they wouldn't admit something was off. Don't let pride blind you." Jake swallowed hard. "With respect, Sarge, I'm not blind. I'm listening. And I'm telling you, Koda doesn't react without a reason." Maya studied him a long moment. "Then pray the next reason doesn't destroy your career." A faint tension settled in Jake's shoulders as he clipped Koda back into the patrol harness. He checked his watch. 7:32 a.m. Their next assignment? Patrol at Union Station during the evening rush, the busiest, loudest, most chaotic shift of the week. Perfect. As they walked toward the cruiser, Koda suddenly stopped, ears twitching. He turned his head toward the far corner of the lot, an empty space shadowed by the rising sun. He stared long and hard, like something invisible lingered there. Jake followed his gaze, but saw nothing. No movement, no threat. "Koda," he said gently, giving the leash a small tug. Reluctantly, the dog obeyed, though he glanced back twice before climbing into the cruiser. Jake shut the door behind him, a small frown forming. Something was coming. He didn't know what, he didn't know when, but he knew this: Koda's instincts had never failed him, not once in 4 years. Whatever the dog sensed that morning had planted a seed. And hours later, in the middle of a crowded train station, that seed would explode into a moment that stopped the city cold. If Jake had understood the warning earlier, he might have saved everyone from what came next. Maybe. But fate had already chosen its path. And Koda was the first to smell it.
The evening shift at Union Station always carried a certain rhythm. Cars idling, horns echoing through the concrete, the thick scent of exhaust settling over the lower levels like a heavy blanket. Officer Jake Miller knew the place well enough to navigate it blindfolded. But that night, as he and Koda stepped into the dimly lit parking structure beside the station, something felt off. Koda sensed it first. He always did. They had only made it halfway down the ramp when the dog slowed, nose lifting into the air. His pace shifted from casual patrol to razor-sharp alertness. His paws clicked faster on the concrete as he veered toward a row of parked cars. "Koda," Jake warned gently, "stay close." But the Malinois didn't listen. Not fully. He pulled ahead, tail stiff, weaving between shadows until he stopped dead beside a silver sedan parked crooked along the pillar line. The windows were fogged from within, like someone had been inside recently. A faint chemical odor, barely noticeable but sharp, hung in the air. Koda pushed his snout toward the driver's door, whining low in his throat. Jake frowned. "What do you smell, boy?" He leaned down, pressing his palm against the car's window. Cold. No movement inside, no lights, yet something about it tugged at him, an unease that crawled across his neck like a draft. Just then, the garage gate clattered loudly as another car entered, breaking the moment. Jake stood upright, glancing toward the noise, but when he turned back, Koda had shifted from whining to pacing. The sound echoed in the big, empty garage, tense, restless. Jake walked around to the back of the sedan. A small medical transport sticker was peeling off the bumper, the corners frayed. Dalton Medical Logistics was printed in faded blue. He'd seen that company around the city. Small time, always moving equipment between clinics. Nothing about it screamed danger, but something about tonight felt different. Koda barked once, short but urgent. Jake startled slightly. "Easy, what's got into you?" The dog pressed his paw against the bumper, nose twitching as if he were tracking a scent trail that Jake couldn't begin to detect. He circled the car once more, then sat sharply, ears pinned forward. That command, sitting like that, was his signal for a confirmed scent. But a confirmed scent of what? Not explosives, not narcotics, nothing Koda usually reacted to. And that was what bothered Jake most. "Koda, buddy, we can't start another incident today," he murmured, suddenly hearing Maya Brooks's warning again. One more false alarm and Koda is reassigned. The thought sent a tightness through his chest. A train horn wailed from above, vibrating through the concrete. The station was filling fast with commuters. Jake didn't have time to run vehicle checks now, and protocol demanded he focus on pedestrian flow, not random parked cars. Still, he stepped closer, brushing his fingers across the door handle. Something metallic clinked inside, just a faint sound, a tap against plastic. Maybe a loose piece of equipment. Or maybe his radio cracked to life. "Miller, report to the main concourse. Evening crowds are backing up. We need canine visibility now." He hesitated. Koda didn't break eye contact with the car. "Come on," he whispered. "We'll check this later." But Koda didn't move.
The dog planted himself firmly, letting out a soft growl that Jake felt in his stomach more than he heard. Something about the car terrified him, or enraged him, or warned him. Jake couldn't quite tell. Koda. Jake tugged the leash gently. Heel. With clear reluctance, the Malinois stood, casting one last burning glare at the silver sedan before falling in step beside his handler. Even as they walked away, Koda kept looking back, as if afraid the car might disappear the moment he turned his head. They reached the garage exit. Commuters rushed past overhead, a bus hissed to a stop, the muffled roar of the city evening pressed in from every direction. But behind them, in the shadowed corner of the garage, a figure slipped into view. Just long enough for Jake to catch the movement reflected in the glass door. A man wearing a medical courier jacket, hood pulled low, paused beside the silver sedan and unlocked it before glancing around. He spun, but the view was already blocked by a departing SUV. He frowned deeply. "Did you see him too, boy?" Jake asked. Koda stiffened, tail straight, confirming what Jake already knew. Something was happening here, something they had just walked away from. Jake felt the kind of unease that settles in the bones. Not panic, not fear, just the heavy realization that a moment had passed that shouldn't have. If he had pushed a little harder, maybe he'd have stopped what was coming. But he didn't. Instead, he and Koda stepped into the swell of evening commuters, heading straight toward the woman who would freeze an entire station in her tracks. "Whatever this is," Jake whispered to Koda, "we'll be ready." But Koda already knew better. Whatever was coming was far bigger than either of them.
Union Station always grew louder this time of day. The shuffle of boots, the roll of luggage wheels, the impatient sighs of commuters squeezing through narrow lanes of traffic. But despite the noise, Jake Miller felt his mind loop back to the silver sedan in the garage, and the man in the courier jacket, and the scent Koda couldn't shake. Something wasn't right. He knew it. And worse, Koda knew it. They stepped into the main concourse just as a fresh wave of passengers spilled in from the street. Overhead, the late afternoon sun cut through the tall glass windows, casting long beams across the tiled floor. Shadows stretched and bent with the moving crowd. And then, between those shifting shadows, Jake saw her. A woman, late 20s maybe, moving carefully through the flow of bodies. She wasn't tall, but she carried herself with unnatural caution, as though every step might disturb something fragile inside her. She wore a soft gray hoodie, drawn low over her forehead, the sleeves pulled tight around her hands. A large tote bag hung from her arm, and her belly, round, full, unmistakably pregnant, pressed against the fabric in a way that looked almost too perfect. She kept one hand cupped over it like a shield. Koda noticed her the moment Jake did. The Malinois slowed, lifting his head, nostrils flaring, his ears tipped forward, his body pulling ever so slightly toward the woman. Jake felt the tension tighten through the leash like an electric wire. "Easy," he warned under his breath. But Koda's focus sharpened, eyes locked, not on the woman's face, but her abdomen, as if his instincts were tracing a scent he'd encountered before, perhaps in a dim parking garage beside a silver sedan. The woman's movements became more telling the closer she came. She didn't make eye contact with anyone. She didn't look at arrival boards or crowd merge points or the usual signs commuters glanced at without thinking. Instead, she kept her gaze down, fixed on the floor tiles as though the world might see through her. From across the concourse, a small boy weaving through the crowd selling raffle tickets nearly collided with her. "Ma'am, you wanna..." He bumped lightly against her belly, and her reaction was instant. She gasped sharply, recoiling as if she'd been struck. Her hand clamped over her stomach with such force, the boy stumbled back, confused. I'm sorry," he whispered. But the woman didn't answer. She simply compressed her lips and hurried away, her shoulders trembling slightly beneath her hoodie.
Jake narrowed his eyes. That wasn't normal, not even for an anxious mother-to-be. Koda tugged again, harder this time, emitting a tense, low whine. "Not yet," Jake murmured. "We watch." The woman adjusted the tote on her arm. The bag looked light, too light almost. Yet she held it as if it weighed her down. She moved toward the escalators leading to the lower platforms, her pace steady, but her eyes constantly flicking from side to side under the shadow of her hood. Jake followed at a distance, weaving through passengers as he kept one hand steady on Koda's harness. The dog was no longer simply alert, he was tracking, focused, driven. His breathing had shifted, deeper, shorter, a sign Jake recognized from hundreds of operations, hit on a scent. And whatever he smelled, it had locked onto the pregnant woman like a magnet. Jake didn't like this. Not the woman's behavior, not Koda's reaction, not the memory of the man slipping back into the silver sedan. Before he could call it in, his radio crackled, but not with Maya's voice. It was the station's central dispatcher shouting over the sound of crowd interference. "All units, major backup needed on the west side of the concourse. We've got..." Static swallowed the rest. Jake's pulse kicked up. He almost reached for the radio to confirm when Koda jerked violently toward the escalator. "Koda, heal." But Koda didn't heal. Not this time. The woman stepped onto the moving escalator, gripping the handrail with one hand while keeping her other arm cupped protectively over her stomach. The tote bag bumped against her hip. She moved with exaggerated caution, as though the slightest jolt would hurt her. Koda let out a rumbling growl Jake had never heard directed at a civilian before. Then, without warning, he lunged. Jake barely caught the leash before the Malinois tore free. The force nearly wrenched Jake's shoulder as Koda planted himself directly in front of the escalator, blocking her path down. She froze. Her eyes lifted, and Jake finally got a clear look into them, wide, too wide, with a stillness that didn't match panic or fear, a stillness that looked eerily like resignation or dread. The crowd's reaction was instant. A woman gasped, "Oh my God, she's pregnant!" A man shouted, "Get that dog away from her!" Phones rose like a field of glowing stars, cameras recording, people muttering about lawsuits, police misconduct, another scandal in Chicago. Heat built around Jake like a furnace. But none of it mattered. Not when Koda was standing like a statue of pure instinct, staring at that belly with the certainty Jake felt in the pit of his stomach. Something was wrong. Something very wrong. And they were standing one breath away from discovering what. "Ma'am," Jake said softly, stepping closer, "don't move, please." Her throat bobbed as she swallowed. I just want to go home." Koda barked, a deep, cutting sound that slammed through the concourse. The woman flinched. The crowd fell silent. Again. Just like the moment that would come later. The moment all of Chicago would see replayed across every news network. But here, in this earlier beat of the story, Jake felt the first ripple of something big enough to shake the entire station. It began with that woman's hollow stare, and the dog who refused to look away. The moment Koda leapt in front of the escalator, the entire station snapped from bustling noise to panic-fueled commotion. The pregnant woman, still frozen on the top step, wobbled as if her knees were about to buckle. A high-pitched gasp escaped her, loud enough to echo down the moving stairway. She clutched her belly so tightly it seemed she feared it might split open. Please make him stop," she cried, her voice trembling like cracked glass. The escalator kept dragging people downward behind her, forcing them to shuffle aside or stumble as Koda blocked the landing. A businessman tripped, cursing as he grabbed the rail. Another woman shrieked when she spilled her coffee. The whole scene tightened like a fist. "Hey, officer," someone shouted. "Control your damn dog." Jake planted his feet,
pulling back on the leash with all the strength he had. But Koda anchored himself, rigid, determined, refusing to budge even an inch. His tail was stiff, his eyes burning with intensity aimed squarely at the woman's stomach. "I said heel," Jake commanded again, but Koda didn't even flick an ear. The young live streamer from earlier, Tyler Vance, pushed through the crowd, smartphone raised. "Folks, look at this. Chicago PD terrorizing a pregnant woman in broad daylight. This is exactly why this city needs accountability." His voice boomed as he broadcast to thousands of viewers. Jake's jaw tightened. This was the last thing he needed, the wrong narrative spreading before he could get control of the situation. "Sir, step back," Jake warned firmly. Tyler smirked. "I'm not touching anything, just documenting the abuse." A few bystanders muttered in agreement. Others began shouting toward Jake, some demanding he pull Koda away, others accusing him of profiling, others simply wanting the station to move again. "Move the dog! She's terrified! She could go into labor!" Jake raised both palms, trying to calm the rising tide of voices. "Everyone, please, give us some space." But tension spiraled too quickly. People were scared. People were angry, and fear mixed with outrage was a wildfire nobody could contain. The pregnant woman tried to take a shaky step backwards onto the escalator, but Koda barked, a sharp, thunderous command that echoed off the high marble walls. She jumped, almost losing her balance. "Stop," Jake snapped. "Ma'am, don't move." Tears streamed down her cheeks. "I just want to go home, please." She looked so small, so fragile, shaking there at the top of the escalator. Anyone watching would think she was the one who needed protection. From the dog, from the commotion, from everything swirling around her. But Jake saw something different. Her fear didn't look like fear of the dog. It looked like fear of being discovered. Another officer, Tom Alvarez, pushed through the crowd, breathless. "What's happening, Jake? I've never heard Koda like that." Jake didn't take his eyes off the woman. "He's alerting. Strong, stronger than I've ever seen him." Tom glanced at the trembling figure on the escalator. "She looks harmless." "I know," Jake whispered. "That's what scares me." Koda suddenly shifted, lowering his head, inhaling deeply, then stepping forward with a low, urgent growl. Not aggression, alarm. That sound froze Jake's spine. "Tom," Jake said quietly, "notify command we have a situation." Tom blinked. "Jake, she's pregnant. The department's gonna—" "Do it," Jake snapped, sharper this time. Before Tom could radio in, Koda's head. Before Tom could radio in, the woman moved. Just one step. One tiny, trembling step. Koda reacted instantly. He lunged, not at her, but in front of her, forcing her to retreat. And in doing so, he revealed something Jake hadn't noticed before. The way she winced, not like a pregnant woman protecting her baby, but like someone guarding something delicate, painful, or fragile strapped to her abdomen. Jake's eyes narrowed. Something clicked. "Koda's not trying to bite you," Jake said softly. "He's trying to protect you." The woman froze, her chest rising and falling in short, shallow bursts. Her eyes glimmered with something beyond panic, something closer to guilt or dread. The crowd fell into a confused murmur. "What does he mean? Protect her from what? Is she hurt?" Tyler zoomed in with his phone. "Guys, the officer is making excuses." But even Tyler's voice trailed off as Koda took another step, emitting a soft, almost pleading whine. His pupils widened, his head tilted, and his body trembled, not with aggression, but with urgency. The dog wasn't scared of her. He was scared for her. Jake lifted the radio to his mouth. "Control, this is Officer Miller. I need immediate backup at the west escalators. Canine alert escalating, possible medical or hazardous." Before he could finish, Koda barked again, loud, piercing, desperate. The woman gasped, doubling over. Her knees buckled. Jake lunged toward her. But before he reached her, one crucial truth cut through his mind like a blade. Koda wasn't blocking her path because she was dangerous. He was blocking it because something inside her was. And that realization, terrifying and undeniable, was the moment the entire crowd fell silent.
The crowd surrounding the escalator swelled until it felt like the entire station was leaning in, watching the standoff with held breath. The pregnant woman was trembling so violently her tote bag slipped off her shoulder and dangled from her elbow like dead weight. Koda stood planted at the base of the escalator, body taut, gaze locked on her stomach with unwavering, unnerving intensity. Jake could feel the shift in the air, thick, tense, electric. And then the radio on his shoulder crackled. "Miller," Maya's voice snapped through, sharp and tight. "What's going on? We're getting civilian complaints from all over the concourse. De-escalate now." Jake opened his mouth, but before he could speak, a man in the crowd stepped forward. "She's scared out of her mind. Call your dog off," he barked. Another voice chimed in. "Yeah, that lady is pregnant. What the hell is wrong with you?" Tyler Vance kept his live stream angled perfectly. Thousands watching, folks, thousands, and Chicago PD is doubling down. Jake gritted his teeth. If Maya saw this online before he explained it, the fallout would be brutal. "Miller!" Maya barked again. "Report!" Jake swallowed hard. "Koda is alerting, strongly." "To what?" Maya shot back, impatience seeping through every syllable. "I don't know yet," Jake admitted. "But it's not aggression, it's warning behavior." "That woman is pregnant," Maya snapped. "If this blows up, you'll be in front of the board by morning. Call the dog off." Jake's throat tightened. He knew the risks. He knew how this looked. But as he watched Koda trembling with pure instinct, he also knew the dog wasn't wrong. Not tonight. "Ma'am," Jake called gently to the woman. "I'm not going to ask again. Please, don't move." She shook her head frantically. "I didn't do anything. He's going to hurt me." "No, he isn't, but something is." A sudden shove from behind cut him off. Jake stumbled forward as a furious commuter pushed past, shouting, "If the cops won't help her, then I will." Koda reacted instantly, springing sideways to block the man's path. He didn't bite, didn't lunge, just planted himself like a solid wall, forcing the man to back off. "Whoa! Call him off!" the man yelled, retreating. Jake raised his voice over the chaos. "Everyone, stay back, now!" The crowd shifted uneasily, but didn't retreat far. Fear kept them rooted. Fear and morbid curiosity. As Jake positioned himself beside Koda, the woman let out a shaky breath. Her face had gone pale, lips nearly colorless. Sweat dotted her forehead. She looked exhausted, and something else. Something like dread. "Ma'am," Jake said softly, "are you in pain?" She gave a jerky nod. I just need to sit, please." Koda emitted a low, pleading whine. Jake felt his stomach drop. The dog wasn't just alerting, he was distressed, deeply. Tom Alvarez arrived again, this time with 2 uniformed transit officers in tow. "Jake, what's the call? We need direction." Jake's mind raced. The entire station was watching. Maya was demanding he pull back. The crowd was on the edge of exploding, and this woman, who looked ready to collapse, kept clutching her belly like holding something far more fragile than a child. Tom leaned close, whispering, "Jake, if we don't de-escalate now, this is going to blow up on every news station in Chicago." But Jake wasn't looking at Tom. He was looking at the woman's hands. Her fingers were digging into her belly, not protectively, but defensively, as if they feared the slightest jostle, as if whatever she was holding wasn't a baby, as if it could break. "Tom," Jake whispered, "this isn't what it looks like." A murmur rippled through the crowd as the woman took another shaky step backwards, just one, and Koda's response was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. He didn't bark, he didn't lunge, he let out a sharp, urgent yelp, a canine distress signal, a sound dogs use when they sense imminent harm. The woman gasped, hands flying to her stomach. Her legs trembled, threatening to buckle. Jake made his decision. "Tom," he said firmly, "we're putting her in secondary screening, now." The crowd erupted. "What? You can't do that. She's pregnant." But Jake had already moved. He stepped behind the woman, gently guiding her off the escalator platform. "Ma'am, we're going to a private room. We need to make sure you're okay." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Please, don't. I didn't want." Her voice broke apart, dissolving into sobs. Jake nodded at Tom. "Clear a path." The transit officers pushed back the crowd. Koda stayed glued to the woman's side, trembling with a certainty Jake could no longer deny. As they escorted her toward the screening hall, Maya's voice thundered over the radio. "Miller, what the hell are you doing?" Jake didn't answer, because Koda had just saved his career, and maybe everyone else's, without saying a word. And deep down, Jake knew this. Whatever the woman was carrying, it wasn't a child.
The secondary screening room was small, cold, and too bright, a stark contrast to the chaos of the concourse outside. Officer Linda Hayes, calm and steady as ever, guided the trembling woman into the chair near the center of the room. Koda remained by the door, pacing in tight circles, as though every second wasted was a countdown he could already hear. Jake stood a few feet away, hands on his duty belt, heart pounding harder than he wanted to admit. The crowd outside was still buzzing, and he knew at least half a dozen videos of the confrontation were already online. He could practically feel Maya's frustration slicing through the radio static. But none of that mattered now. The woman, Emily, according to the ID she shakily handed over, sat hunched forward, one hand gripping her stomach, the other clutching the armrest as if it might float away. Linda knelt beside her. "Emily, I need you to take a few deep breaths, all right? We're going to run a quick medical check and make sure everything is okay with you and the baby." Emily gave a jerky nod, but tears spilled down her cheeks again. I don't know what's happening. I'm so dizzy." Linda's voice softened further. "You're safe now. Just breathe." Jake watched every micro-expression on Emily's face. The fear was real. He didn't doubt that. But fear could come from many places. Fear of a dog. Fear of being caught. Fear of something hidden. And then there was her belly. The shape looked normal at a glance, but something about the way she held it. Too tight, too protective, almost as if she were bracing against a fragile structure rather than cradling a living child. "All right," said Linda. "I'm going to start with a simple scan." She waved a handheld detector over Emily's abdomen. The machine gave a faint beep, nothing unusual. Then she swabbed her hands, the tote bag, her jacket. "All clean," she said, glancing at Jake. Jake didn't answer. He looked at Koda. The dog's ears were pinned, tail stiff, eyes unblinking. He paced the room twice, then sat directly in front of Emily, trembling with an intensity that sent a ripple of cold through Jake's chest. He'd only seen that behavior in one type of situation, when the danger wasn't explosive or chemical on the outside, but something hidden deeper, something internal. Linda tried again. She ran a second detector, this time over the seams of Emily's clothes. Another clean result. "Jake, she's not carrying anything. She's just scared." But Koda disagreed. The dog let out a low whine, a sound of pure distress, and nudged his nose toward Emily's abdomen. Emily flinched violently. "Please, don't let him touch me." Jake crouched in front of her, lowering his voice. "Emily, can you tell me what you're feeling right now? Are you in pain?" Her breathing grew rapid. I don't know what's happening. I'm so dizzy." Linda's voice softened further. "You're safe now. Just breathe." Jake watched every micro-expression on Emily's face. The fear was real. He didn't doubt that. But fear could come from many places. Fear of a dog, fear of being caught, fear of something hidden. And then there was her belly. The shape looked normal at a glance, but something about the way she held it. Too tight, too protective, almost as if she were bracing against a fragile structure rather than cradling a living child. "All right, I'm going to start with a simple scan." She waved a handheld detector over Emily's abdomen. The machine gave a faint beep, nothing unusual. Then she swabbed her hands, the tote bag, her jacket. "All clean," she said, glancing at Jake. Jake didn't answer. He looked at Koda.
The dog's ears were pinned, tail stiff, eyes unblinking. He paced the room twice, then sat directly in front of Emily, trembling with an intensity that sent a ripple of cold through Jake's chest. He'd only seen that behavior in one type of situation, when the danger wasn't explosive or chemical on the outside, but something hidden deeper, something internal. Linda tried again. She ran a second detector, this time over the seams of Emily's clothes. Another clean result. Jake, she's not carrying anything. She's just scared. But Koda disagreed. The dog let out a low whine, a sound of pure distress, and nudged his nose toward Emily's abdomen. Emily flinched violently. "Please, don't let him touch me." Jake crouched in front of her, lowering his voice. "Emily, can you tell me what you're feeling right now? Are you in pain?" Her breathing grew rapid. I think so. I don't know. It's sharp. Sometimes dull. It's been happening all day. I just need to get home. Please let me go home." Linda put a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Honey, if the pain is getting worse, we need paramedics to check on you." "No," she shouted, too quickly, too forcefully. Jake's eyes narrowed. "Why not?" Emily froze. Her mouth opened, then closed. Her gaze dropped to the floor. I just can't. Please." Linda and Jake exchanged a silent look. Then Koda suddenly backed toward the wall, nose lifting, sniffing rapidly at the stale air, tail twitching like he had picked up a thread of scent only he could detect. He whined sharply, almost pawing at the air itself as though he was trying to dig through the floor to get away from whatever he sensed. Jake stood straighter, alarm prickling at the base of his neck. "Linda," he said quietly, "something's off." Before she could respond, Emily swayed, her head lolled forward for a moment. She blinked rapidly, trying to focus. I think I'm going to pass out," she whispered. Jake stepped closer. "Emily, how long have you been feeling like this?" She lifted her eyes, and what Jake saw in them wasn't just fear. It was guilt. "I shouldn't be here," she whispered. Right then, the room felt much smaller. Linda put a hand on her arm again. "Emily, please stay with me. Did you eat? Did something happen today?" But Emily didn't answer. Her breathing hitched. She curled forward, clutching her stomach with both hands now. A strained sound escaped her throat, a sound that didn't belong to labor or anxiety. It belonged to pain. Real, crippling pain. Koda let out a sharp bark, then another, urgent, insistent, then pawed at the ground like he was trying to dig through the floor to get away from whatever he sensed. Jake stepped back, fear rising in his gut. Something was happening, something invisible, something silent. "Call EMS," Jake ordered. Linda bolted for the phone. Emily gasped again, nearly sliding out of the chair. Jake grabbed her shoulder, steadying her. "Emily, what is going on? Talk to me. Are you bleeding? Are you injured?" She shook her head wildly. No, it's inside. Something's wrong inside." "What do you mean, inside?" Jake pressed. Her voice broke on the answer. I don't know. I don't know what they put in me." Jake froze. Linda froze. Even Koda stopped barking and stared. "What did you say?" Jake whispered. Emily sobbed, clutching her belly tighter. "Please, help me. Something's wrong inside me. It's burning." Koda backed away with a low, horrified whine. Jake's pulse hammered in his ears. The tests were clean because nothing dangerous was outside her. It was inside. And now, whatever it was starting to break.
Emily's cry sliced through the small screening room, turning every second into a jagged edge. She doubled over, clutching her abdomen as though something inside her were twisting, ripping, forcing its way through layers of muscle and skin. Her breath came in sharp, broken gulps. The chair beneath her shook. "Emily,
Jake grabbed her shoulders to keep her from falling. Her face had drained of all color, ashen, slick with sweat, lips trembling without sound before finally releasing a strangled gasp. "It hurts. It burns. Please, something's wrong." Linda rushed to her side. "Emily, stay with me. Don't try to stand." But Emily was already slipping to her knees, her arms tightening around her belly as if it were a live wire sparking beneath her skin. Her forehead nearly hit the floor before Jake caught her. "Call EMS now," he barked. "I already did. They're on their way," Linda shouted, fumbling with her radio. And through it all, Koda didn't bark. He whimpered. A high, frightened sound Jake had only heard once before, on the scene of a chemical leak years ago, where even trained first responders had to be evacuated because the air itself was poison. Koda crept back until his rear hit the wall, ears pinned flat, entire body trembling. He wasn't afraid of Emily. He was afraid of what was happening inside her. Jake cradled her gently as she writhed. "Emily, listen to me. Tell me what they put in you. Who did this?" Her eyes fluttered, unfocused. I don't know. They said it was medicine. They said it was safe. But it's leaking. I can feel it." Jake's blood ran cold. "Leaking?" he echoed. She nodded once, barely, and a fresh wave of agony tore through her. Her body arched, a guttural cry ripping out of her throat. Koda pressed against the corner, crying softly. Linda grabbed a blood pressure cuff, her hands shaking. "Her pulse is erratic, too fast, then too shallow. Jake, something's happening at a systemic level. This isn't dehydration or stress." Jake knew that. He felt it in the air. A faint metallic tang, barely noticeable, crept into the room, curling around the edges of his senses. He had smelled it once before, years ago, at a warehouse raid where makeshift chemical containers ruptured. A toxin. Slow. Silent. Hidden. "Linda," he whispered, "we need the hazmat team." She looked up, startled. "Are you sure?" Before Jake could answer, Emily screamed again, her hands clawing at her abdomen as if trying to rip something out. Then it happened. A soft, horrifying pop. Muffled, internal, like a blister bursting deep beneath flesh. Emily's scream broke into a raw cry. Linda recoiled. "Oh my God." Koda's whine rose into a frantic, desperate pitch. Jake held Emily steady as she sagged against him. "Emily, listen to me. Can you hear me?" Her eyes rolled, lids fluttering. "It burns inside. Help me, please." "Paramedics are 2 minutes out," Linda said, voice trembling. 2 minutes might be too long," Jake muttered. Emily's breathing grew shallow. Her fingers curled around Jake's wrist, pulling weakly. "I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know. I just needed the money. He said it was harmless, that no one would get hurt." "He?" Jake pressed. "Who's he? Emily, look at me." But she couldn't. Her body sagged further, collapsing into his arms. Jake felt his heart slam against his ribs. "Stay with me. Emily, keep your eyes open." A choking sob escaped her lips. "My baby. Please, save." And then she convulsed, her body shaking violently. Linda grabbed a blanket, covering her legs. "She's going into shock." Outside, faint sirens wailed, finally approaching. Jake's voice cracked with urgency. "Emily, listen to me. You're going to the hospital. They're going to help you. But I need you awake. We need to know what's inside you." Her gaze met his, blurry, unfocused, but drowning in terror. "It's not a baby," she whispered. Jake felt his stomach drop. "What do you mean it's not a baby?" Her tears slid across her cheeks. "It's something else. They put it in me. They said it would be okay. But it's breaking. I can feel it." Another sharp shudder tore through her body. Koda barked once, loud, piercing. Jake recognized that sound. It wasn't warning. It was fear. The door burst open as 2 paramedics rushed in with a stretcher. "What's her condition?" "Severe abdominal distress, possible toxic exposure, pulse erratic, too fast, then too shallow."
Jake stepped back, letting them secure her. Emily reached for him one last time, fingers trembling. They lied. They lied about everything. Jake squeezed her hand. Who lied, Emily? Tell me who put this in you. Her lips parted, shaping a name, but another wave of pain hit, stealing the breath from her lungs. The paramedics hoisted her onto the stretcher. We have to move now. They hurried out, leaving behind only the echo of Emily's cry and the trembling shadow of a dog who had sensed the truth before anyone else. Jake stood there, chest rising and falling, every nerve in him burning with dread. Whatever was inside her wasn't only killing her, it might have been designed to kill others. And Jake knew this was only the beginning.
The hallway outside the screening room felt too narrow as the paramedics rushed Emily away. The stretcher rattled over the floor, the wheels squeaking with each turn. Her soft groans faded down the corridor, swallowed by distance and the rising wail of the ambulance siren outside. Koda stood in the doorway, shaking. Jake had seen his partner face down armed suspects, bomb scares, riot crowds. The dog never flinched. But now, his tail was low, eyes wide, ears flattened tight to his skull. He looked from Jake to the direction Emily had been taken, then back again, as if torn in two. Sergeant Maya Brooks rounded the corner, face hard, jaw working. "Miller, my office, now." "Can't," he said, still staring down the hall. "She's in trouble, Sarge." Koda smelled something inside her before any of us knew what was happening. Maya lowered her voice. "You've already got half the city thinking you sicked a police dog on a pregnant woman. You leave this floor now, it'll look like you're running from it." "I'm not running, I'm following the scent." Behind Maya, another uniform approached, a younger officer with auburn hair pulled into a tight bun. "Miller," she said, breathless, "if you're sending Koda with the ambulance, I'll go. You can't be in two places at once." "Lena," Maya muttered. "You sure about that?" Officer Lena Torres nodded. "He trusts me. I've worked with him on joint drills. If something goes south at the hospital, he'll alert. They'll listen to me more than they'll listen to a dog alone." Jake looked down at Koda. The Melonwall lifted his head, ears twitching at Lena's voice. He knew her, trusted her, in that quiet way dogs decide about people. "You go with Emily," he said to Lena. "Stay close to her. If doctors find anything inside her that shouldn't be there, I want to know before anybody else. Call me the second you hear it." Lena gave a short nod. "On it." He bent, placing a hand on Koda's neck. "You hear that, buddy? You're riding with Lena. Stay with Emily. Whatever's hurting her, you make them see it." Koda whined, licking Jake's wrist once, then turned toward the exit where the ambulance waited. His steps were reluctant, but purposeful, as if he understood the weight of what he had been asked to do. Lena clipped a shorter lead to his collar and headed for the doors. Maya watched them go, then turned back to Jake. "You really think that dog smelled something inside her?" she asked quietly. He knew before anybody else did. That's a lot more than I can say for the rest of us. Maya pressed her lips together. "Fine. Where are you going?" Jake's eyes hardened. Back to the beginning. 10 minutes later, he was standing once more in the dim concrete chill of the parking garage. The silver sedan was gone. Its space sat empty, a dark rectangle of oil stains and tire dust. But the air lingered with a faint metallic tang, the ghost of the same scent that had clung to Emily. A station security supervisor met him near the wall of monitors. "You're looking for a Dalton medical vehicle?" the man asked. "Silver sedan, basement level. Time window between shift change and the incident in the concourse." They scrubbed back through the footage. Grainy black and white images flickered past. Cars pulling in, commuters hurrying to trains. Then they saw it. The silver sedan easing into the crooked space, headlights cutting across the concrete. A man stepped out. He wore a dark medical courier jacket, hood up, head bent. Even in low resolution, there was something deliberate in the way he moved. No rush, no hesitation. He opened the rear door, pulled out a soft-sided medical bag with the Dalton logo, then paused. For a second, he looked straight at the camera.
clean-shaven, mid-40s, calm eyes behind thin-framed glasses. Too calm. "Freeze that," he said. The supervisor did. The name badge was blurry, but just legible enough to make out the print along the bottom edge. Dalton Medical Logistics. L.D. Jake's stomach clenched. They watched the man walk out of frame, heading toward the station entrance. Minutes later, on another camera, Emily appeared, hood up, tote bag on her arm, hand on her belly. She moved like someone following careful instructions. "When was this?" Jake asked. "About 30 minutes before your dog went crazy," the supervisor said. Jake stared at the timestamps, and then at the faint outline of the Dalton logo on the bag in the courier's hand. 2 paths, one from the garage, one through the concourse, both crossing through the same woman. He straightened, jaw tight. Koda was at the hospital, chasing the truth inside Emily's body. And here, in the quiet hum of security monitors and fluorescent lights, Jake had just found the first face tied to whatever nightmare that truth belonged to. He pulled out his phone and dialed Lena. "Yeah?" she answered over the faint beeping of hospital machines. "Stay close to her," Jake said, "because I think I just met the man who turned her into a weapon." Lena's reply was soft, but steady. "Then we better hope we're not too late."
The ambulance tore through downtown traffic with its siren crying into the night. Inside, Emily lay strapped to the stretcher, her breath shallow, her skin damp with cold sweat. Her hands curled protectively around her swollen belly, even as pain rippled through her in waves. Koda sat pressed against the stretcher, whining softly. Every time Emily groaned, his ears twitched and his body tightened, as if he could feel the danger moving inside her. Lena Torres kept a hand on his harness, whispering, "Easy boy, stay with her. You're doing good." When they arrived at St. Matthew's Medical Center, the ER doors burst open. Doctors flooded in, snapping orders. Suspected abdominal trauma, possible toxic exposure, pulse unstable. Emily was rushed toward Trauma Room 3, Koda and Lena following close behind until a nurse stepped into their path. "No animals past this point." Lena lifted her badge. "This dog is part of an active investigation. He stays." The nurse hesitated, then nodded. "He stays behind the glass." They positioned themselves at the observation window as the medical team surrounded Emily. Bright surgical lights bleached the room in white. A doctor, a man in his 50s with silver at his temples, held an ultrasound probe against Emily's abdomen while nurses secured IVs and monitored vitals. Emily writhed, her face contorted in agony. "Please, please help me." "We're trying," the doctor murmured. But then he froze. The monitor on the wall flickered with a grainy, blurred image, not the round, natural shape of a fetus, but something rigid, segmented, oddly symmetrical. He shifted the probe, frowning deeper. "What is that?" a nurse whispered. Lena leaned forward, her pulse spiking. "That doesn't look like a baby." The doctor pressed harder, switching angles, his eyes narrowing. "There's no fetal heartbeat." Emily sobbed weakly. "But I heard one. They showed me. They said..." Then the doctor spoke the words that made the whole room still. "There is no child. This is artificial." Lena's breath caught. Koda whimpered, pacing anxiously. The doctor turned to his team. "Prepare the surgical suite. Whatever this is, it's not organic. She's carrying a foreign structure in her abdominal cavity." "A bomb?" a nurse whispered, stepping back. "No, not explosive. But there are compartments inside. 4, and one looks ruptured." Emily cried out again, clutching her stomach. The monitor screeched in alarm as her vitals dipped sharply. "Move! We're losing her!" a nurse shouted. They wheeled her out of the trauma room and down the hall toward the OR. Lena ran alongside until they reached the double doors. "Ma'am, you can't go further," a surgical tech said.
But Koda scratched at the floor, barking in panic bursts, refusing to let Emily disappear behind the doors without him. "Come on, boy," Lena whispered, pulling him gently. "We have to wait." The doors slammed shut. A red light flicked on overhead. Surgery in progress. For 15 long minutes, Lena stood with Koda pressed against her leg, both staring at the closed doors as muffled shouts echoed inside. Then, a single sharp cry escaped from the operating room. Koda let out a bark that shook the hallway. Moments later, the doors flew open. A nurse hurried past carrying a metal tray full of sealed containers, each one dripping with a viscous, translucent substance. One of the containers oozed a faint mist. "What the hell is that?" Lena whispered. "Liquid narcotics, highly concentrated, enough to poison half a city block if airborne. One of the capsules ruptured inside her. She's lucky to be alive." Lena felt her stomach twist. So she wasn't pregnant. "Not even close," the nurse said. "This was a prosthetic womb, silicone, mechanical pump to mimic a fetal heartbeat. Someone inserted it surgically and filled it with these." She nodded toward the toxic containers. "Designed to get past standard scans." Koda growled softly at the tray, nose wrinkling. The nurse turned away. "We managed to remove all the compartments. She'll survive, but barely." Lena exhaled slowly, her hands trembling. She knelt beside Koda and whispered, "You saved her. Jake was right about you." Koda nudged her hand, but his stare remained fixed on the OR doors, as if he knew the truth coming was darker still. When the surgeon stepped out, peeling off his gloves, Lena approached him. "Doctor," she said, "please tell me, could this have been fatal to others?" He nodded grimly. If she had fallen, been bumped too hard, or even gone into a warm environment for too long, the ruptured capsule might have triggered a chain reaction. "What kind of reaction?" He swallowed. "Airborne toxicity. People nearby would have gone into organ failure within minutes." Lena felt chills roll through her. "And she didn't know?" "She thought she was transporting medicine," the doctor said softly. "But she was carrying death." Koda whined again, pawing the floor. Lena understood. They had saved one woman. But somewhere out there, in a parking garage, in a crooked parking space, was a man named Lucas wearing a Dalton medical jacket. And he had not acted alone. She pulled out her phone and called Jake. He answered on the first ring. "Talk to me." Lena steadied her voice. "Jake, it wasn't a pregnancy. It was a device, a fake womb filled with lethal chemicals." There was a long, heavy silence. Then Jake replied, voice hard as steel. "Then we're not dealing with smuggling." Lena swallowed. "No, we're dealing with a network." Koda barked once, a sharp, certain warning, and Lena felt the dread settle deeper. Whatever they had uncovered tonight, it was only the beginning.
The hospital hallway had quieted, but the tension clung to the air like a thick fog. Lena Torres stood near the surgical wing's double doors, arms crossed, trying to steady her breath. Koda sat at her side, eyes fixed on the floor as if following a scent only he could sense. Every now and then, he gave a restless twitch of his ears, a faint growl rumbling deep in his chest. Jake finally arrived, his boots echoing sharply across the tile. He looked exhausted, hair disheveled, jacket half-zipped, but his eyes were alert, wired. "You weren't exaggerating," he muttered, as Lena showed him the sealed containers removed from Emily's abdomen. He picked one up carefully, studying the viscous substance inside. "These are lab-grade, military-level compounds. You don't get this unless someone with serious connections is pulling the strings." Lena nodded grimly. "Emily mentioned other women. She said 2 were landing today, possibly more in the next 72 hours. Jake clenched his jaw. "So what we saw at Redwood Terminal wasn't a fluke. It was phase 1 of something bigger." He turned toward Koda. "And our boy here sniffed it out before anyone else. Again!" But Koda didn't seem to bask in the praise. His nose twitched, his pupils sharp. He rose suddenly, tail stiff, ears pinned forward, fixated not on the surgical wing, but toward the opposite end of the hallway. Jake frowned. "What is it, buddy?" Koda took a step, then another. A low growl built in his throat. Lena felt a chill slide down her spine. Jake, he's tracking something. Jake followed the dog's line of focus toward the hospital entrance. A supply cart sat parked near the elevators, nothing unusual at first glance. But Koda's growl deepened. He pulled hard on his harness, dragging Lena forward. "Koda, heel," Jake commanded, yet the dog ignored him, something he'd almost never done in his career. That alone made Jake's stomach drop. They approached cautiously. The supply cart was stacked with linens and sealed medical kits. A young custodian stood nearby, earbuds in, humming softly while restocking cabinets. He glanced up. "Everything all right, officers?" Koda lunged, not to attack, but to get to the bottom shelf of the cart. "Koda, wait!" Lena held him back just enough for Jake to kneel and pull aside the stack of folded blankets. Beneath them was a duffel bag, black, unmarked, bulging. The custodian's face drained of color. I don't know how that got there." Jake unzipped the duffel slowly. Inside were 3 silicone prosthetic wombs nearly identical to the one doctors had surgically removed from Emily, except these had no ruptures, each fully intact, each fitted with mechanical pumps and multiple compartments pre-filled with fluid. But one detail hit Jake like a punch. These units carried small radio frequency tags. "Tracking beacons," he whispered. Lena stared horrified, meaning someone was supposed to pick them up here. The custodian stammered, shaking his head. I swear, I had nothing to do with it." Jake raised a hand. "Calm down, just tell me, did anyone hand this to you?" The man swallowed. "No, but there was a guy earlier, wearing a Dalton medical jacket. He asked for directions to the trauma wing, said he was picking up equipment." Lena and Jake's eyes locked. Lucas. Before Jake could respond, Koda jerked sharply to the left, almost ripping the harness from Lena's grip. He barked once, loud, urgent, and unlike anything they'd heard since the airport. "Koda, what are you—" Then they heard it. A soft, electronic chirp. Faint, steady, becoming louder. Jake turned toward the source. A hospital security monitor flickered, camera feed from the parking garage showing a man in a Dalton medical jacket wheeling a large insulated container toward a white van. Lucas. Beside the container glowed a blinking signal matching the RF tag in the duffel bag. "Tell me that's not what I think it is," Lena whispered. Jake's face hardened. He's picking up whatever was supposed to be inside Emily, and he doesn't know she survived. Koda barked again, sharper this time, and then yanked free from Lena and sprinted down the hall. Patients looked up as the German Shepherd bolted past, nails skittering against the tile. "Go!" Jake shouted, racing after him. "He's going for Lucas!" They tore through the lobby and toward the stairwell as Koda bounded ahead, driven by instinct alone. As Lena caught up, breathless, Jake shouted, "If Lucas gets that container into the van—" He didn't finish. He didn't have to. Koda's life and every life inside the hospital might be seconds away from disaster, and Koda, with every ounce of urgency in his body, seemed to know it.
Koda flew down the stairwell like a streak of muscle and instinct, his nails striking the concrete steps in sharp, rapid clicks. Jake and Lena thundered after him, lungs burning, the echo of their footsteps bouncing off the narrow walls. The deeper they descended, the colder the air became, carrying the faint metallic scent of the underground garage, oil, exhaust, and something else, something sharper. By the time they burst through the door into level B2, Koda was already halfway across the lot. His tail was stiff, his body low to the ground as he tracked the scent with laser focus. Jake spotted him just as the dog skidded behind a row of parked cars. "Koda, hold!" Jake shouted.
But Koda didn't hold. He bolted forward with renewed intensity. At the far end of the garage, a white cargo van sat with its rear doors open. Inside, lit by a dangling overhead bulb, stood the man from the cameras, Lucas. His Dalton medical jacket looked darker in the dim light, his posture tense as he adjusted something inside a large insulated container strapped to the van floor. Jake slowed, raising a hand to signal Lena. "Don't rush him. We don't know what's inside that container." Then Lucas turned. For a brief moment their eyes met across the garage, Jake and the courier, predator and prey, studying each other. Lucas's expression didn't show fear, it showed calculation, cold, deliberate, measured. He reached for the van door. "Koda, stop him!" Jake commanded. The dog lunged. His paws hammered the concrete as he sprinted toward the van. Lucas slammed the door shut and scrambled into the driver's seat. The engine roared to life. "Go! Go!" Jake shouted, sprinting forward. The van peeled out of the parking space with a squeal of rubber, fishtailing toward the exit ramp. Koda stayed on its tail, barking with a ferocity Jake rarely heard from him. "Koda, get back!" Lena called, but the dog only ran faster. Jake didn't have time to think, only to trust. Koda wasn't attacking, he was tracking something inside that van, something dangerous. They raced after him, weaving between columns. Jake couldn't draw his weapon, not in a garage full of fuel lines and pipes, not when they didn't know what chemical reaction might set off the compounds inside. The van shot up the ramp toward the exit gate. Koda was only a few strides behind now. Lucas stuck his arm out the window and hurled something to the ground. It clattered across the concrete and began emitting a high-pitched squeal. "Koda, back!" Jake yelled. "That's an ultrasonic repellent!" The noise made the dog stumble, shaking his head violently. Still, he pushed forward, refusing to stop even as the shrill frequency tore at his ears. Lena scooped the device off the ground and flung it against a pillar. It shattered instantly, and the piercing sound died mid-scream. Koda surged forward again, determined. Lucas reached the exit gate. The barrier arm lifted automatically. He must have used a stolen hospital access card. The van rolled forward. "Koda, don't go past the gate!" Jake bellowed. But Koda wasn't listening to anyone. He sprinted through the rising barrier just as the van hit open road. Jake cursed under his breath and pushed harder. The night air blasted them as they cleared the garage, cold and sharp against sweat-damp skin. The white van barreled down the road toward the loading docks behind the hospital campus. Koda was still gaining. "Jake! Lena!" cried Lena, pointing. "Look!" Up ahead, the van slowed, not because Lucas wanted to, but because a chain-link fence and a locked service gate blocked his escape route. He had nowhere to go. Lucas jerked the wheel, trying to turn around, but the alley was too narrow. He was trapped. Koda reached the van first. He planted himself directly in front of the bumper, barking furiously, not to attack, but to stop the vehicle from moving forward even an inch. Lucas slammed the brakes. The van lurched to a violent stop, tires screeching. Jake and Lena closed in, weapons drawn. "Hands up! Step out of the vehicle!" Jake shouted. But Lucas didn't comply. Instead, he reached slowly toward the insulated container in the back of the van, his hand hovering over a control panel. Lena's voice trembled. "Jake, I think he's trying to trigger something." Koda's bark shifted to something different this time, sharper, panicked, a warning he had never used before. Jake's heart pounded. "Lucas, stop! Whatever you're doing, stop!" Lucas turned his head slightly, eyes dead and flat. Too late. Jake lunged forward, but before he could reach the driver's door, a piercing alarm began wailing from inside the van. The container's digital display blinked red. Temp breach detected. Compartment 2 unstable. Lena inhaled sharply. "Jake, that device in the back is heating up." Lucas smiled. "If I'm caught, the shipment doesn't leave." That was the deal. Jake's mind raced. "You're willing to kill everyone here?" But Lucas didn't answer. His hand hovered an inch above the panel. And then, Koda made the choice for everyone. He charged, not at Lucas, not at the panel, but at the lower hinge of the van door. With a vicious, precise bite, he ripped the metal latch free. The door flung open. Jake seized the moment, grabbing Lucas by the collar and dragging him out onto the pavement. Lena dove into the back, yanking power cables free from the insulated chamber, just as the temperature gauge flashed hotter and hotter. Then, a hiss of decompressing air, a slow, dying hum. The red lights on the panel dimmed, the alarm cut out, the container powered down. Lena exhaled shakily. "It's safe, for now." Jake cuffed Lucas. "You just made a very big mistake." Lucas said nothing. His eyes drifted to Koda, who stood panting, chest heaving, alert but unharmed. For the first time, Lucas's expression flickered, not with fear, but with grudging awe. "That dog," he said softly. "He wasn't supposed to figure it out." Jake tightened the cuffs. "You're damn right he did." As backup sirens approached and the loading dock lights brightened, Koda walked to Jake and pressed his head into his partner's leg, exhausted but proud. Jake knelt and wrapped an arm around him. "You saved us all, boy." But the victory felt fragile, because as the sirens grew louder, Lucas finally spoke again. "You think this ends with me?" Jake stared down at him. "It ends tonight." Lucas gave a slow, unsettling smile. "No, tonight was just a test." And Jake felt the cold truth settle into his spine. This wasn't over, not even close. The frost of early dawn crept over the city as Jake and Lena stood outside the hospital loading dock, watching officers escort Lucas into a waiting cruiser. His cuffs glinted in the flashing red and blue lights, but the man's expression wasn't defeated. If anything, he looked satisfied, like someone who had just confirmed fury. Jake watched him closely. "He's too calm." Lena nodded. "Because he thinks his people are untouchable." Beside them, Koda sat with a barely noticeable tremble running through his legs. Exhaustion, adrenaline, the lingering sting from the ultrasonic device. Jake knelt and stroked his fur gently, his voice soft. "You okay, partner?" Koda leaned into him, tail twitching in reassurance. He was tired, but there was something else in his posture. Unease. Instinct. A signal Jake had learned to trust without question. "Jake," Lena said quietly. He wasn't bluffing. This was a test run. Jake rose, jaw tight. "Then we need names." Inside the hospital's small security office, detectives from the Organized Crime Division were already setting up laptops and projection screens. A cluster of agents hovered around the evidence table. Prosthetic wombs, the toxic capsules, the broken ultrasonic repellent, and the insulated container Koda had disabled. Detective Raymond Hooper, a seasoned investigator with a permanently furrowed brow, greeted them. "Torres, Henderson, hell of a mess you stumbled into." Lena crossed her arms. "We didn't stumble." She gestured at Koda. "He led us." Hooper gave the dog a respectful nod. "Then let's hope he can lead us a bit further." Jake stepped closer to the screen where Lucas's file was displayed. "We need everything you've pulled from his phone, ID, anything." Hooper tapped a few keys. The screen changed to show call logs, dozens of short calls, all 30 seconds or less, routed through encrypted numbers. Texts with no words, only timestamps. GPS pings across airports from 3 states. Then an image loaded, a blurry snapshot from a cargo dock camera, a tall man in a charcoal coat passing a package to a woman in a parking garage. The caption beneath the image read, "Alias Victor Hale, suspected rank, handler." Lena stepped closer. "We heard that name at the hospital. Emily mentioned him." Hooper nodded. "He's been moving in and out of airports under the radar for years, no fixed address. Uses women as couriers, single mothers, refugees, women in debt." Jake clenched his fists. Targets desperation. Hooper pointed at another file, an operating schematic for the silicone womb device. "We found surgical precision in the construction. That means a real doctor is involved. Not just a butcher. Someone trained. Someone licensed." Lena's stomach twisted. A doctor willing to implant lethal chemicals into women who think they're carrying medicine. Hooper looked at Jake. This whole thing is bigger than narcotics. This is biochem smuggling. High-end, low detection, high profit. Someone wants this method perfected. Jake felt a cold shiver down his spine, meaning Emily's collapse wasn't an accident. It was the glitch, the flaw they needed to identify. Koda suddenly whined and pushed his nose toward the table, specifically toward Lucas's confiscated cell phone. Jake raised an eyebrow. "You smell something, boy?" Hooper frowned. "The phone's locked, biometric. We're trying to bypass it." Koda barked once and nudged the back of Jake's leg. Jake blinked. "He wants me to take it outside?" The dog barked again, more insistent this time. They followed him through the corridor and out into the ambulance bay. Koda trotted toward the cruiser where Lucas sat in the back seat, waiting for transport to the precinct. 2 officers stood guard nearby. Lucas looked up as Koda approached, eyebrows lifting slightly. Koda stopped just short of the door and stared, tail stiff, ears forward. Jake understood instantly. He wants access to Lucas. Hooper stepped forward. That's against protocol. But Lucas wasn't done. That container in the van, he tilted his head, a decoy. Lena stepped forward, eyes narrowing. A decoy for what? Lucas backed in, a slow smile crawling across his face. For the real shipment, the one arriving tonight. Koda growled, low and furious. Jake felt his pulse spike. Where? Lucas closed his eyes, almost peacefully. You'll never reach her in time. Her. Jake's breath caught. Another courier? Lucas didn't answer. Hooper stormed over. We're done playing games. But Jake wasn't looking at Hooper. He was watching Lucas, every twitch of his eye, every micro expression. And then he saw it. A glance, barely noticeable, toward the east runway of Redwood Terminal. Jake grinned to Lena. He just told us, not with words. Lena nodded, understanding immediately. Someone landing on the east side tonight. Koda barked sharply in confirmation, pacing toward the direction of the runway as if he already smelled what or who was coming. Jake spoke into his radio, voice steady but urgent. This is Detective Henderson. Initiate a full sweep of Redwood Terminal's east runway. We're looking for a female courier arriving tonight. High risk, possibly carrying a toxic implant. All units move now. The dispatcher responded immediately. Copy. Lockdown in progress. Lucas's smile vanished for the first time that night. Jake stepped up to the window, meeting his eyes through the glass. You underestimated my partner. Koda pressed his paw against the cruiser door, his gaze locked on Lucas like he was marking the man as prey. Jake's voice dropped to a quiet vow. We're ending this tonight. And as the cruiser pulled away, Koda watched it disappear, his body tense with anticipation. He already sensed what the humans were only beginning to understand. The real battle hadn't started yet, but he was ready for it.
The east side of Redwood Terminal looked nothing like the bustling concourse where everything had begun. Here, the wind swept across empty tarmac, carrying the sharp scent of jet fuel and the low hum of engines preparing for takeoff. Floodlights painted long, stretching shadows across the concrete. Jake, Lena, and Koda stepped out of the cruiser, the cold air instantly biting at their faces. Officers from multiple units were already forming a perimeter, radios crackling with updates. But despite the activity, the entire place felt too quiet, like the calm before a storm. Jake knelt next to Koda. This is it, buddy. one more life to save. Koda pressed his head against Jake's chest, then lifted his nose to the wind. His muscles tensed. He smelled something. Someone. A dispatcher's voice buzzed over Jake's radio. Flight 778 inbound from Vancouver. Single passenger flagged on manifest. Female traveling alone, late 20s, carrying oversized maternity coat. Lena exhaled sharply. The next courier. The plane touched down moments later, its wheels screeching across the runway. It taxied slowly, the roar of its engines rolling across the tarmac like distant thunder. Officers fanned out, forming a narrow corridor leading from the service ramp to the waiting units. Jake scanned the area. Everyone hold positions, no aggression unless Koda gives the signal. A ground crew worker rolled the passenger stairs into place. A flight attendant appeared in the doorway, guiding a single woman wrapped in a winter coat, hood up, arm across her belly. She moved carefully, almost too carefully, as though every step carried weight she couldn't afford to misplace. Jake whispered, "This must be her." Koda's growl rose, low, trembling, full of warning. The woman descended the steps slowly, stopping halfway as if catching her breath. When her hood shifted, the floodlights revealed her face, young, frightened, eyes darting with the look of someone who'd been given instructions she didn't dare disobey. Lena stepped forward. "Ma'am, we're here to help. You're safe. Please walk towards us slowly." But the woman flinched at the word safe, hugging her stomach tighter. Her lips quivered. "They told me not to stop. They told me I'd die if I didn't finish the delivery." Jake raised both hands, palms out. "You're not dying today. Just come with us. No one here will hurt you." Koda barked, sharp, urgent. Jake froze. That wasn't a normal alert. That was the same bark Koda used when Emily's device began leaking inside her. Lena's eyes widened. "Jake, the implant, it's unstable." The woman trembled, tears streaking down her cheeks. "It hurts. I think something inside me is burning." Jake felt his chest tighten. "We need a containment team out here now," he shouted into his radio. But Koda suddenly took off, sprinting toward the woman, nose lowered, tail stiff. Jake's heart lurched. "Koda, no, don't get too close." But the dog wasn't attacking. He stopped 2 feet in front of her and sat down, perfectly still, perfectly calm. The woman stared at him through her tears. Why isn't he afraid of me?" Jake understood instantly. He approached slowly, hands outstretched. "Because he's not here to judge you. He's here to protect you." The woman began to sob. "They told me I was carrying medicine for refugees. They told me if I refused." Her voice broke. "They showed me my sister. They said they would make her disappear." Jake felt anger surge through him like a hot wave, but he kept his voice steady. "You're safe now. Let us help you." But then, the woman gasped. Her knees buckled. She clutched her stomach and screamed. Koda barked violently, circling her in frantic loops, pushing his body against her as she collapsed onto the tarmac. Jake caught her before she hit the ground. Her breathing came in sharp, shallow bursts. Lena shouted, "Her vitals are crashing! Jake, the implant!" Jake pressed his hand against the woman's back, feeling the unnatural mechanical pulse under her coat. "We need a paramedic team out here now," he shouted into his radio. But Koda whined, nudging the side of her coat, trying desperately to pinpoint the source of the chemical leak. The woman's trembling hand clutched Jake's sleeve. I don't want to die, please." Jake's voice cracked. "You won't. I promise." The medical containment team arrived in a sprint, wheeling a reinforced stretcher designed for hazardous materials. They surrounded her, securing masks and gloves as they lifted her gently. As she was loaded onto the stretcher, Koda followed closely, refusing to leave her side. The woman managed a weak smile. "He's beautiful," she whispered. "He knew, didn't he?" Jake nodded. "He always knows." As the medical transport rushed her toward the emergency transport, an officer ran up to Jake, breathless. "Sir, your suspect, Lucas, He's talking. Jake turned sharply. About what? He said one thing. Only one. The officer swallowed hard. He said, "Check her coat pocket." Jake frowned. What? Why? He reached into the pocket, carefully, slowly, praying he wouldn't trigger something. Inside was a small, folded note, exactly like the one found in Emily's bag. Lena unfolded it, her face drained of color. "It's a flight number," she whispered. "Landing tomorrow." Jake stared at the note as the weight of it sunk in. Another courier, another implant, another life in danger. But then Lena turned the note over. There was more. One word written in hurried, messy ink. Help. Jake closed his eyes, feeling the truth wash over him. Not every woman in this network was a criminal. Some were victims. Some were desperate. Some were brave enough to ask for help even while risking everything. He looked at Koda, muddy, exhausted, trembling with adrenaline, yet standing tall. Jake knelt beside him. "Are you ready for what comes next?" Koda nudged his shoulder gently. A clear yes. Jake rose and faced the runway, the night wind sweeping past him. "Then let's finish this, all of it." And as the medical transport sped away with the rescued courier, Koda sat beside his partner, calm, unwavering, eyes fixed on the horizon where the next battle waited. Whatever came tomorrow, they would face it together. Because loyalty didn't waver. Instinct didn't lie. And Koda never walked away from someone who still had hope left in them.